What people don't understand about the so-called mental health conditions is, especially when we are talking about trying to treat them, trying to look for all kinds of techniques, therapies, or healing modalities, is that in doing so, people are chasing a remedy for a condition as if that condition would be existent in and of itself, as if anxiety or depression would be a standalone thing against which we deploy our mind and we heal or treat. Well, that is wrong. And this has been the approach of the medical model and of the therapeutic model. Unfortunately, even the alternative healing modalities are adopting the same model too. Because whether you are going for an energy healing session, or whether you are going for a hypnotherapy session, or you name it, everybody is trying to heal that pain, that condition, depression, anxiety, PTSD, or trauma, which is a very much en vogue subject. I want you to think about yourself as a, as about anything that is natural. Think of yourself as of a seed. You started as a seed, just as this plant has started from a seed. You see, whether that seed grows into the plant or into the being, it's a matter of a conversation, hence my conversation with self method, a conversation with source and everything existent in within our reality. There are many elements, many powers at work that contribute to the development, growth, and decay of that seed. Whether that seed becomes this plant or a tree is not dependent in and of itself. The seed will depend on the good soil. If the soil has good nutrients, and then the plant grows, but it depends on water. Is the plant hydrated and fed the correct food? Then it's a matter of living in the right environment for that kind of plant, for this plant. If I put this plant in front of the window, fully exposed to the sun, it's gonna burn because she doesn't like to be fully exposed. So whether it's what Maslow called shelter, but the right environment for each individual, for each seed, then it's not only that, the plant will need light. So sun and natural light, it's another important factor. From that, there are other elements that depend on whether there is draft, whether there are if I water too much the plant, then the soil will become habitable for all kinds of fungi and bacteria that will destroy the roots. So from a seed, we are looking at so many processes and so many elements contributing to the development or the arrested development, to the growth, the healthy growth of that seed into what is could be and is supposed to be. The same way us as humans, from a seed we develop into the human being that we are, and who we have become to that point, including the symptoms. Just like this plant would have symptoms of yellow leaves or dry leaves or looking sick and ill and depressed, about to, not devitalized, it will depend not on the plant itself. So if I am to treat the plant, say the roots have become infected because there are a lot of fungi and insects growing in, that could be because the soil is not good anymore, or because I put too much water. So I can't keep spraying or buying more stuff to put on or doing incantation to the plant until I either transplant it, I take it from that soil and put it in a healthier soil, and then I become aware of, number one, I have to learn what has caused that. Is it me? Is it because I have watered the plant too much? Is it because I put too much water? Is it because the water itself it's not good? Tap water it's full of calcar, and so in the same way. Or is it because there are others that are watering the plant in my absence and I don't know, and we each keep adding and contributing to the cause. In the same way, the human, from that seed, developing into the child into the adolescent into the adult, we have processes, and from that seed throughout this process of growth, we have elements and forces that intervene in our life and contribute to our healthy or unhealthy development, to our growth or arrested growth. And those forces are not all within ourselves. So when we're trying, like all the models, the current models were being medical, being therapeutic, based on the same medical model, or a mixture in between allopathic medicine and alternative, or the alternative medicine and healing modalities, addressing the mental health in and of itself, as if that thing, it's given the diagnosis, it's a static thing, it's something that we deploy our might against. It's equal to trying to fix the problem with the roots of my plant that has been too much watered, and I just keep spraying and spraying, treatment after treatment, and I'm trying to offer it more healing techniques and more whereas all I have to do is either to put it in a place to dry or to transplant it, and then help the plant to recover, and from there watch not to water it too much. See, if we don't become aware of all these contributing factors to our coming into existence to begin with, and then from there how all these visible and invisible factors contribute to our healthy or unhealthy development, we will never be able to prevent getting to those points of what we call depression, anxiety, and so on. So the purpose is not to try to discover more treatments. When we are in need of a treatment, we are already too late. We have already failed. So the aim of our 21st century science should be, number one, should be a unified field between science and spirituality, or what I call the spiritual science, in which we incorporate morality and psycho-spiritual education to understand where are we coming from, what is the purpose of this life, what are the healthy rules of engagement in this life? What are the conditions for a healthy human? And from the family to the society's point of view, they need to be applied. So it's no good. It's like my plant could be very healthy. I'm doing everything about my plant. I'm going to treat it with almost care. But then I am taking it with me to say to work, because I need to have something of mine. I need some kind of natural environment. And I'm taking it to work. And in that place, that place, it's dark. It's full of magnetic radiation and electromagnetic radiation from all kinds of devices. The energy in the office is not good. It's not healthy. There is no natural light. There is a lot of noise, phonic noise, and there is a very unhealthy vibe. Hence, why I brought my plant with me, trying to bring some nature with me. Just as I don't feel good, and in that place, my plant is going to start suffering. And then if you have, I'm not going to be next to my plant every day and every single minute of the day when I'm in the office. So I'm going, say I'm working with people, and I'm going to work with clients. And in the meantime, there are people that work with me in the office, and or the cleaners, or they're coming and knocking down the plant, or they're trying to clean it because they see there's some dust, and then they clean it with some cleaning product. Or they're just knocking it about and push it from one thing to another, push it in a corner when they splash something on it. And there is, see, that plant in that environment, it's in that already toxic environment, and being pushed around by so many people and being mistreated in so many ways, will start feeling the same way a human is feeling in society. You can be loving yourself to death. You can be loved by everyone in your family. And then you go out in society. And if the medium in which we live is not conducive to healthy living, you are going to suffer one way or another. So you have a healthy family, a healthy and loving family, and you have a toxic society, you will be knocked over and you will be pushed all over and contaminated by that toxicity. Whether you want or not, whether you would like it or not, you cannot prevent from bringing at least a part of that toxicity back home. And day by day, year after year, member of family after member of family will each bring some of that toxic waste from society back home. And then no wonder, just like the plant, a leaf starts to get yellow, then petals start to fall, and then that family, from a healthy and vibrant family, start to give signals of disease. And that disease did not necessarily happen in and of itself, because just like the plant, the functioning of that family, just like the functioning of one human, is dependent upon all the factors and all the elements and all the powers, visible and invisible, from the radiation of the sun to the phonic radiation from the cars and from the electromagnetic radiation from our devices, to all other kinds of elements and powers, spiritual powers, entities that are interfering with humans, and so on, that you cannot address something such as so-called depression or anxiety or stress or self-confidence as if they were something in and of it themselves. You, as a human, you are not something in and of yourself. Without the participation of all those factors that I just mentioned earlier, you would not exist. Because what gave you life, and you didn't spring to life from by your own will, from your own source. So the forces that contributed to you being alive, to you coming into being, are the same forces that are continuing interacting or interfering with your process of existence. And you cannot keep spraying or trying to treat that blight, that yellow spot, that whether we call it depression, or whether we call it trauma or whatever, if we are not if we are not looking, if we are not, and not from a treatment point of view, but from an understanding, from an educational point of view, understanding that the viewpoint, the paradigm of treatment or of healing, it's passe, it's old, it's obsolete. It's thinking that you have that whatever we call it, like you have a disease, and then you come with a solution, you come with a pill, and you treat that disease. There are very few diseases that could be treated that way. But when it comes to to the mind, when it comes to the matter of the soul and the heart, of your psyche, you can't cut your psyche into pieces, put it under the microscope, and see where exactly uh, that pain is coming from. I hope that you could understand. I know the concept is very, well, it's simple and it's complex at the same time, because you have to remove yourself from the current paradigm to take 3 steps back to actually see and contemplate and have a spiritual curiosity, at least. I'm not saying belief, because just simply believing into something without um, researching, it's it's a weak and a lazy way of dealing with life. No, but you have to have that scientific inquirer curiosity, and the openness of mind, heart, and soul, of the spiritual seeker. And when you have these two elements together, when you look at what creation, well, existence, not creation necessarily, what existence is, and how, if you just observe nature, like everything in nature follows a process. And that process, when something along that process, in that chain, when something along that chain breaks down, if you try to fix that chain that has broken down without having a panoramic view of what happened to cause that, what factors have contributed for that chain to break, for that process to break down, and what you need to do or not do anymore for that not to repeat, then you are just with a focal lens just magnifying a part of that process, missing the whole picture. And this is what medicine, this is what therapies have done, this is what personal development has done. They're looking at, with a focal lens on, and magnifying it, whether it's trauma, whether it's depression, and the treatments for that category of so-called condition. I mean, there are, I I've wrote in my books, I wrote, especially in the last book, the manual for mental health. It's such a complicated process that only when we're looking from the materialistic point of view of an independent machine-like being, independent of everything, independent of its, imagine the plant, independent of its soil, independent of the microorganism in the soil, independent of the air around, independent of the light, independent of all the other factors that have made it be and have caused it to stay healthy, to grow healthy, or to start to decay and start to get ill and die. The material science would try immediately to fix it. Is the plant suffering? Well, spray something, do something. Well, no. Look first what caused it. The same way when we look at the relationships, the first thing is counseling, couple counseling or relationship therapy. There is no relationship until there are only two individuals oblivious of how their process impacts the process of the other and how the other's process impacts their spouse or their partner's process, and how those misunderstandings cause this misfiring and lead to all kinds of yellow leaves, signs of distress or disease. Too much water, too much or not enough, soil is not properly aired, or so on. Process. It's a process. Life is a process. The human being, it's a process. And you don't need and you shouldn't try to fix anything. You should get away from the attachment to all these kind of diagnostics because they don't serve you. I work with clients who have been diagnosed, whether it was with autism, whether it was with schizophrenia, all kinds of other conditions, and some of them said they felt reassured when they finally got the diagnosis, because that made them feel as if the matter was not with them. They felt reassured that there are others like them. In a way, they had the need of belonging to some group, some category fulfilled, even if they belong to a category of people deemed ill or mentally ill. Were still belonging rather than just not belonging to anything. There were the normal people and then the broken you, and that's it. And I understand that. But while that is the first step, if you want, the baby step of making more sense of ourselves, that is not the destination. That is just the first step of understanding how we work, how we function. And yes, you can look through the lenses of the diagnostics. Yeah, when I am this and that and that, and when I those symptoms fit the category of a diagnostic, whether it's you name it, yeah. But attachment to that lens, to that focal lens, and looking through that focal lens, and in that way ignoring the existence of a process, subjected to external forces that have contributed to the arrival of that symptom, of that problem, and that are still contributing. So if we are looking with the focal lens on this issue, on this diagnostic, on this problem, called depression or whatever, ignoring and completely eliminating even the possibility that there might be external forces at play, you are in a leaking bucket situation, because no matter how much you could put in, how much therapy, how much attention, as long as you are ignoring these external forces that have contributed to its arrival and are still contributing it, you will never get out of that. You'll never have that full panoramic view. You'll never have understanding. And without understanding, you cannot have healing. In fact, healing is knowledge. Healing is becoming aware of how all that from seed to where we are, that process works, and how different forces at play um, activate us in positive or in negative, and impact us and our health. And when we have that panoramic view, when we have knowledge, when we have what I call self knowledge, as when I say self, it's the higher self, the big self, the source knowledge. then then we have then we are no longer caught in a in a focal lens on just one part, and blowing it out of proportions and being fixated on it and going in circles and trying to change something from by doing the same things over and over and over, by just looking at one thing, excluding the rest. We don't need to keep talking about the past. We don't need to keep talking about uh, in how many ways we have been traumatized, because we have all suffered at the hands of others. And unfortunately, as long as society lives by this model, we'll all suffer and continue to suffer at the hands of others and ourselves. Willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly, we would cause suffering to others from our level of unawareness and oblivion. So, yeah, think life, you are a process. Think of that plant, think of the seed and the process and all the elements. Just contemplate on that. That would be a very good exercise for you. Instead of me just carry on talking and giving you more information, just contemplate of the process of a seed into becoming what it is, whether it's a plant, whether it's a tree, whether it's or a seed of a human, and becoming who that human is. But start with the plant, because you won't have triggers in that scenario. And if you are looking, if you are meditating and contemplating on the process of coming into existence, first of that seed, and then how many elements are at play for that seed to grow, and how many other forces and elements are at play for that plant to be alive. The gravitational force, the Schumann resonance, if we have like the level of oxygen, the moon, the everything, there's so many forces at play that we are completely unaware, and they're all having an impact on what we call mental health. In fact, there isn't such a thing as mental health, because what we call the mind is not what the science think, is not the brain. And everything that is in the physical, that we call the physical health, has an element of the mind, and vice versa. So you just call it health, because when you are unhappy, your physical health suffers. And if you twisted your ankle, your so-called mental health suffers, because you're miserable. You are you can't be happy emotionally when you are in physical pain, and your body can't be happy and in optimal health if emotionally you are starved. Yeah, So contemplate on that, the process of the seed and the many forces that influence its growth and its health.